Young lady here, Miss Vilche, is here in the art department just now. Some of you will have met her there, and she's a student teacher come from America to be with us for a few weeks just now from Indiana Wesleyan University. It's been a real joy to have her here just now, and she's going to come and speak to us at Assembly just now, so very welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me speak today. As I kind of prepared for this talk today, I thought I would just kind of think about what I've learned since I've been here a bit and connect it kind of back home and relate things to you that I think might be of interest. And so anyway, I'll start with a little story. I guess I'm in control of this. What I've learned about in Scottish culture is that everyone calls their grandma their gran or their granny. But I don't have a gran, I have a Mimi. And Mimi is very dear to me, and I have a Poppy as well. He's in the middle there with her. And as you can see, Mimi is crazy. Mimi is out of this world crazy, but we love her very much. She's quite dear to me. She lives right next door to me, so we go over quite a bit. I have 3 younger sisters, so every once in a while, every other day, we'll go over to Mimi's house, and she's very welcoming, not just to us as her grandkids, but to everyone. If you were to ask anyone who's ever encountered Mimi, and a lot of people do call her Mimi, she's a grandma of everyone, they would say that Mimi is very inviting. If you go into her living room, there it is, you walk right in, and she says to visitors, she says, "Kids, get in here right now! Get in here! Get in here!" And she rushes everyone in, and suddenly, she's talking genuinely about the good in them. She sees the great in everyone. Everyone is so great at something, and she finds out what it is, and she'll tell them exactly how great they are at it. So, as you can imagine, growing up, I felt very loved as a grandkid. To her grandkids, even if she has visitors in, this always gets a little uncomfortable, but she'll say, "Oh, baby, come in here. Let me look at you. You are so smart." And being the first grandkid, she'd often tell me that I was beautiful too. All the kids were beautiful, but especially this baby needed to be told it was beautiful because it was not always the cutest thing. But she would also tell you how smart you are. Of course, you're reading this picture book with some pictures and some words, and oh, you are the most smart. You were so smart. You graduate from J1, and you were so smart. Doesn't matter what you do, you were so smart. All of her grandkids are the smartest, brightest kids. And my parents, while they didn't praise me for everything like a good granny does, they were affirmative, and they built my self-esteem like a good parent should, with some correction and some humility as well. So growing up, I felt so loved, and this goes to say that sometimes it's not our upbringing that is our cause for brokenness. Sometimes it's just how we are. Sometimes we're just broken people. So this kind of leads into another story that I'd like to share with you today, the main story. So the thing that's kind of tragic about people just being naturally broken is that sometimes we're blind to this. We're not aware of how broken we really are. And that's quite tragic because we need to be aware of our brokenness. So I became particularly aware of my own vanity, I guess, is what I'm here to talk to you about today. And how I was so blinded by it. I didn't have really nice clothes all the time. I didn't get my nails done every time. I'd go to school with my hair kind of messy. It didn't bother me. I wasn't this, always put together person, clothing-wise. I wasn't high maintenance. So people would, they wouldn't agree with this necessarily, but internally I was full of vanity. And I became aware of this in a school classroom 1 year ago. I was in a painting room, and my professor said, "Here you are you're to come up with a self-portrait that is not traditional. It can be figurative, but it doesn't have to be. But it needs to be conceptual." And so, you know, we had 2 weeks to do this, and that's a lot of time in art school. We have 2 weeks to do something. And so I was like, good, I've got so much time, I can get this awesome painting. You know, and it can be this really great self-portrait. So I researched, you know, traditional portraits because it's not what we're supposed to do. So I was like, well, what am I not supposed to do, right? And then I started trying to get inspiration. You know, I was working hard, and everything that I kept coming up with, it was nothing, just nothing. Everything was just rubbish, is what you say. Everything was rubbish, and I hated it. So we're going to set aside my school frustration for a minute, and my story shifts a bit because we have to backtrack a little bit so that you understand some context. So for 6 years leading up to this point, I'd struggled with this deep acne. I mean, it just kept getting worse, and at first you're like, why is she talking about acne in assembly? This is weird. And it is a bit weird. But, you know, at the time that all of my friends were clearing up and there were no spots, mine was getting worse and getting worse. And it got so bad that in uni, when everyone is like, beautiful skin, everyone's all put together, my face is literally rupturing in class. It's like oozing blood, and it's really gross. You know, and I'm like, oh, this is embarrassing. I've got this explosive acne, right? And we tried everything from when I was like 15 on. We tried home remedies, we tried all of these things, and it was very frustrating. You know, people would try to give you all of this advice. Would change your diet, I changed the way I sleep, so that my face wouldn't touch the pillow. So I became very sensitive about my skin, and I didn't realize how this one thing had affected my life in so many other ways. You know, something as simple as what is seemingly like a pimple had infiltrated my heart in ways that it never should. As this last resort, I had become, you know, really frustrated, and so I went to a dermatologist, and they put me on this low dosage of, it was like chemotherapy for your face, which was crazy, and I knew that it would be painful and it would take a long time, and then it would change my life for that 9 months. And so during this time while I'm in my painting class, I'm going through this treatment, and I just felt like, not even in the painting class, but just throughout my days, God was asking me, you know, okay, so then what? Like, once your face is cleared up, then what? And I was like, well, I don't know, I'm gonna have clear skin, it's gonna be great. But I felt like God was asking me to check my heart deeper, to really, really assess myself. You know, it was wrecking my body, but how would I be spiritually and emotionally changed by this medication? So as you know, assessing myself, I realized that I did not want anyone to see anything about me that wasn't perfect. I became really good, you know, since I didn't have this great clear skin, and I didn't have really cool clothes, and you know, all the things that you think are typically vanity-based, these things about your appearance or your image. I became really good at things. I became really good at taking on tasks. I became really good at balancing 8 very important, very leadership-oriented tasks. And I found it hard to say no. And the reason why, as I assessed myself, was that it was for the reason number 2. If I said no, if I said, you know what, I cannot handle this as a human being who needs sleep, you know, I need to take some time and sleep instead of adding on 3 more important leadership jobs. But vanity, definition number 2 says that vanity is the quality of being worthless or futile. And so instead of, you know, taking time for myself, doing those things that are important and key characteristics to, you know, leading a healthy life, those things I thought would make people think less of me, because I couldn't handle it. So this is clearly a blemish problem, vanity at its ugliest, at its slyest, at its finest. So I had succumbed to everything that vanity tries to tell you, you know, that if you present yourself as whole and put together and everything's just so that everyone is going to love you more, and that everyone is going to think more of you, which isn't always true. So that brings me back to my painting assignment, right? And asking myself, how am I changed after this weird acne treatment? And as I began painting, it was never so difficult to paint anything in my life. I started this idea, I became kind of engulfed in this idea, so I thought, you know what, I will take a close-up of my own face, which was difficult because there's my face in this studio for everyone to see, and I covered it up with makeup every day. But my painting was there, the photograph was there for everyone to see, and I realized as I painted that I became mournful about this process of going and painting this close-up of my own face. And in doing this, I was actually like killing a part of myself, which leads me to a C.S. Lewis quote. If you've ever read Mere Christianity, you'll know how great of a book it is, by C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis is a genius. And if you haven't read Mere Christianity, I encourage you to look at it. C.S. Lewis writes, "The principle runs throughout all time from top to bottom. Give up yourself and you will find your real self. Lose your life and you will save it. Submit to death, death of your ambitions and favorite wishes every day, and death of your whole body in the end. Submit with every fiber of your being, and you will find eternal life. Keep back nothing. Nothing that you have not given away will really be yours. Nothing that has not died will ever be raised from the dead. Look at yourself, and you will find in the long run only hatred, loneliness, despair, rage, ruin, and decay. But look for Christ, and you will find him, and with him, everything else is thrown in." So this really brings me back to like a summary point of, while I was so concerned about presenting myself to other people as perfect, nothing that we can ever do will make us perfect. And that became my sin. It became an all-consuming kind of sin, something I thought about a lot more than I had even realized. But in killing that, in painting and mourning over this, in doing that, I killed it, and I've given that to God. And I think that God honors that, and that's not something I struggle with so much anymore. But so that's kind of my testimony of where I've been. And here's the painting. There it is. It was something that I was embarrassed to present because it was something so, such a close-up of my face. I did it on a paper bag, and it was kind of cool because it was 3D. But that's that for you. So thank you very much.